Hi everyone, Arry here, Chair of the Cascadia Blockchain Council, and also your host for the Blockchain Underground Meetup and the Windshield Time podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and I hope that you find these videos really useful. On November 5th, we had a guest AMA from the lead of Reverse Token, Stefan, and it was super interesting. Actually, my first time ever hearing of and meeting a person from the Isle of Man. Who would have known that there's actually a nation state off the country of the UK where there's people. So that was really interesting. He comes from a background of environmentalist and a background in sustainability, and he's now working on the reverse token. It was really interesting for us in the community to learn about his token, the tokenomics, the launch process, and actually just everything about the token. We learned about, we learned about Safemoon, we learned about what they're doing with transparency. We learned that they actually are doing zero pre-mine. So it's a very interesting project because of that. We talked about Polygon, proof of stake. We learned about USDC. We learned about the platform called Defyn, DFYN. And then we learned about Dextools. And so, yeah, it was really interesting. At the end, he also did a full-on demo of the website and also how to acquire reverse tokens. And so we'll post that as well. I hope you really find this AMA really interesting and support reverse token. We have to put out the disclaimer. My husband and myself, we are buyers of the reverse token, big fans of the project. We think it's going to be really awesome and really like their approach. So yeah, that's it. Join us every Friday. We have an AMA, 12 to 1 p.m. PST. You can sign up on meetup.com under the Blockchain Underground. And then let me know if there's anything I can do to help and support you. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share. And thank you so much for all of your support. Bye. Hi, everyone. We have Stefan here from the Reverse Token team. Here to join us, and he's going to be talking all about it. We're going to kick off with an introduction from Stefan about himself, how he got into crypto, and his background in sustainability and environmental work. So I'm just going to hand the microphone to Steph to give us the overview of his background. And you can take your time, go on and do the long background, like the 5-10 minute one. So yeah, we totally want to understand where you're coming from and all that you bring.
Absolutely. So I'm Stefan, and I'm here from the Reverse Token project, and I've been in the crypto space for a little while. My journey actually started back in 2015 when a local bar in my home country started to accept Bitcoin payments. And at the time, I was in traditional finance, specifically Forex and currencies. And a colleague of mine invited me to a local group at that bar to kind of discuss. And that was basically my first introduction into crypto. It was something that's been on and off over the years. I got involved and invested for the first time in 2017. And over the years, up until about 2020, it's kind of been a look and check every now and again. And then since 2020, I've been involved very heavily. And this year is the year that I actually became involved in the work side. So it's been very exciting. It's great to see the inside of the community for the first time. So I started working for AGA approximately 6 months ago, which is a Bitcoin mining operation. And I came on the team to go into the sustainability of Bitcoin mining. At the time, it was when Elon Musk started to talk about that whole area of the issue that it brought. And I think even now, it's something that a lot of people continue to talk about. And I think it needs to be talked about more. And I think people need to be educated better on the situation. So that's kind of where we headed back in, I think it was around July, August. We were exploring how we could basically move the new miners that we were adding to our operations to renewable energy sources. So at the time we were running on about 65% renewable energy. And as you may know, it's very difficult to transition miners. So we were looking for the best way to offset the remaining unavoidable 35% that was being you have a question?
Yeah. Just so background. Sure. So you talked about AGA. So AGA is a token project that you started working on, and AGA or AGA is a mining token thing.
Yeah, so it's a decentralized Bitcoin mining protocol. So it's a token called AGA. It also has a second token called AJR, which is a rewards token, which is used for rewards for the token. But it is, I think, the best way for mining to take place. Obviously, there's a lot of publicly traded stocks for Bitcoin mining operations, but it's very centralized, and I think it's more suitable that we have a decentralized community-based operation for a decentralized currency. So it's been a very exciting journey, kind of getting involved with that whole industry and learning how everything works. And that's actually what brought me more into the environmental space, because my background in environmentalism is really more of respect for the environment. My father runs the environmental protection department from the small country that I grew up in, and my brother is a marine scientist. So it's been something that I've been involved in for a very long time. And learning more about the Bitcoin energy usage and how electricity really works has really given me a lot more interest and a lot more to think about in terms of how we can actually make positive change with the environment.
Okay, so you have like so many answers.
I'm not sure if you froze there, Ari.
Oh, am I frozen? Can you hear me?
Nope, you're good. You're good.
So you have a lot of answers that we could ask. I'm hearing already the questions before we're asking them right now. So you're working with AGA, you have a very strong background, including your family, in environmental stuff. And so you understand how this should work. You're seeing how Bitcoin mining happens. Can we just jump right in? Like, what should the story be? Because everyone's always asking, well, I have a lot of concerns about the energy consumption of Bitcoin mining and, proof of work. It's really, really bad for the environment. Bitcoin's really bad. Like, what would you say as the expert environmentalist? And then someone just asked, what's your home country? So you're not American then?
No, I was actually born in the Isle of Man. It's a small place off the coast of England, population of 80,000 people. The only thing people usually know it for is a tourist trophy race. It's a motorcycle race, the most dangerous motorcycle race in the world. And that's about all it's famous for, but it does have a very, very good environment. It's, easy access to the oceans. So you kind of grow up in that compared to growing up somewhere that's more urban. So that's where I'm from originally.
Whoa. All right. Interesting. Oh, then I also have to put in a full disclosure. Like, we came to you through a friendship with Tomas. My husband has a strong friendship with Tomas, who's the founder of AGA Token. And my husband is a bigger crypto trader than I am. He's more of the finance guy of the family of us. And so he's a big participant in AGA and also a big participant in Reverse, which is, the disclaimer we have to put out there. So then what's your lesson about Bitcoin mining? Like, what have you learned, and how would you talk about, energy or not energy? Is this good for the environment or not? And where you are today, I guess, on this journey.
Sure. So absolutely, I understand that its energy consumption is very high, but I think that we need to look at it in a different way and consider a different perspective. So when you consider the industry as a whole, the type of people that are involved in this industry are innovators. They're looking at a new form of currency, a new way to process transactions, and I think you find that in their mindset as well. So a lot of the people that are involved in Bitcoin mining are looking for interesting and innovative ways to source the electricity, both for profit margins, but also I think it's just their general mindset is to do something innovative. So I think you find that a lot of the techniques that they use are actually going to develop ways for us to improve our electricity usage as a whole, not just in Bitcoin, but in general. So for example, one of the things that I'd been exploring at the time when we were looking at ways to be more sustainable is there's a lot of wasted energy out there. So the Canadian government, for example, operates several hydroelectricity facilities that produce more electricity than is actually needed for the area. So they essentially slew off that additional electricity and it goes to waste. And they're actually essentially throwing it away at a loss. So it's approximately $6 per kilowatt. So from a mining perspective, there's a very affordable source of electricity there where they can increase their profit margins. And it's also beneficial because it's a renewable source of energy. So that's just one example of ways that Bitcoin miners are looking for innovative ways to use electricity. And it's very scalable.
Bitcoin miners are seeking out sources that are cheaper and or otherwise would have been wasted anyway, you're saying?
Exactly, yes. And if you're familiar with how transformers work, one other area where that's interesting is there's electricity that's lost as heat when you move from the power plant to the household. And a lot of miners will actually agree contracts with the power plant to set up locations very close to avoid that transformation loss. Their benefit, again, is the discount of electricity, increasing their profit margin, but it's also saving that wasted electricity that would have been lost if it was traveling distances. So there's a lot of different aspects you need to think about, and I think that's something that occurs in the environmental space as well. There's a lot that people aren't aware about when it comes to carbon credits and offsets and the difference between prevention and removal, which of course we can get into in this conversation as well.
Well, I think we should. So there's a lot of learnings that you and Tomas experienced working on AGA. And so I'm curious, like, why is reverse token happening and what's happening with reverse token, and what was the magical discovery on why you decided to create reverse and why does it need to exist in this world? And yeah, help us with that.
Yeah, so I think there's two main points that we were thinking about when we created Reverse. So the first one was we were obviously exploring the offsets industry for AGA. So as we began to look into that industry, we realized that a lot of the companies that work in that space monopolize the industry. So they, for example, not only create the credits, but they may verify them and then sell them to you. And there's not a lot of transparency in that transaction. So it's very hard to track what's happening. So to give you a little bit of an education, for example, if I was to say I had a company and I decided that I was going to offset some of my emissions using trees, and I said that I wanted to buy 100,000 trees, and they gave me a certificate that said I bought 100,000 trees. Well, what you don't find out is that these trees are planted to compete so that they grow effectively. So what will happen is they will actually remove and cut down a lot of these trees when they start to reach the stage where they've grown enough to start to create a canopy. So when these trees are removed, let's say 50% of them are removed and you end up with 50,000 trees in the end period, they don't revoke the supposed positive impact that you've had by buying that initial transaction. So it's kind of a gray area where the information is not necessarily accurate. And I think things like that need to be something that's educated to the community. So by having a token where we can essentially explore partnerships with various nonprofits and other organizations that are doing things like this and looking at things consciously, we can be much more aware of what's happening and educate the community and involve them in all of this education and the process that's occurring. And on the second note, I think the challenge that we have is when it comes to climate change, you of course have people that are very much advocates for it and they are willing to put their money into doing something good. But the issue you have is there's this borderline where a lot of people won't necessarily want to give their money away for the environment with no actual benefit. There's no physical incentive for them to do so. Sure, they may save some local environment, but it's not measurable to them. So the concept that we had was by incentivizing doing good in some way, we could actually entice people to do something that would actually have an impact. So the way the token works is you're essentially earning an interest through a method similar to Safemoon, where there's reflection in the token. So what's happening is when a transaction is placed and you purchase our token, it essentially activates the smart contract and several things happen. The first thing that happens is 10% of the token is sold and used to purchase carbon prevention, such as carbon removals, carbon offsets, and also used to support special projects, including a recent project we work with in Costa Rica. And the overall goal with that is over time, we will develop first-party project where we're actually involved from the get-go, so we can verify everything that's happening and supply that information to the community, and then share that transparently through the blockchain. And the second thing that happens is there's a 5% burn, which is designed to offset that sell pressure because we are selling 10% of that transaction. And the final thing is where the interest comes in and the incentive for the user. So that 5% of the token is distributed to all existing holders. So right now, that works out to about 40% APR. So when you're buying into the token, if everything goes well in a year, you've essentially earned 40% on what you initially invested. And that's not including any token appreciation as well, because you have to remember that this is an asset.
My brain is trying to compute.
Sure.
So it sounds like the tokenomics model, because like, in my experience, having done one of these token things before, the tokenomics model is very, very crucial to the success of a cryptocurrency. And
Absolutely.
So you obviously you guys have thought this through, right? You're selling if someone buys the reverse token, it's doing good. And so whatever I buy $10 worth, at least $1 of that will be going to something good, like the Costa Rica project that you mentioned. And then there's a whole burn and yield portion.
Yeah, so
I have incentives. I'm basically making gains on having purchased that reverse token.
Exactly, yeah. So on the $10 transaction, it would be $1 that's going towards the doing good, and then you'd have 50 cents, which is offsetting that sell, and then 50 cents, which is being returned to all existing holders. But the actual idea behind it is the projects that we're looking at for our progress as we scale, and this is a very important part of what we're looking into, and this is, of course, a future goal, but I think it's important that we create a long-term roadmap for something as important as sustainability. But the main goal is essentially to support, as I said, first-party projects. So we're choosing these projects with local experts or marine scientists, for example, and developing the project from stage 1 through to the final stage. And the benefit by doing that is we're choosing projects that have decided to use innovative methods where they're looking at roadmaps for scalability. So, for example, one of the scientists that we're currently discussing with has a roadmap to increase cost efficiency of kelp reforestation by 10 times its current value. So although only 10% of the transaction is going towards that, we're actually looking at increasing the amount that we can do with that by 10 times its current value. So the idea is that over time, the impact you'll be having with reverse will be vastly more in a cost ratio benefit than any other option available on the market, as well as you having this asset class that's allowing you to appreciate in value. And of course, the interest as well.
So then, I feel a little bit worried. Usually as an educator, I tell anybody approaching a crypto project, approach all crypto projects, assume they're scams, right? So I'm going to put that hat on and say, all right, let's assume reverse is a scam. Are you really doing anything in Costa Rica? How do I know that you're actually doing that? Have you actually been to Costa Rica, for instance?
Yeah, we actually have there's a short clip on the website right now, but we have a full documentary video. It should be around 15 to 20 minutes that's coming out, explaining how the project works, all of the experts that are involved, hopefully next week. But I actually went out there a couple of weeks back, and the idea was really to get involved with the project, understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, what's different about their reforestation project versus a project somewhere else. And the reason we decided to get involved with their specific project was for two reasons. One, we want the community to be involved, and this was actually brought to us by a community member, and that's the overall goal, is to really turn this into something where everybody's involved and doing good. And the second reason is, after visiting them, it was incredible to see their knowledge base was amazing. A lot of these projects, they're just looking at acreage coverage, essentially, whereas they're considering things like, how does this affect biodiversity? How do we future-proof this? How do we teach the community to take care of the local environment? So, for example, one of the things that project does is there's a local beach there on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica where they have a large amount of turtle migration for birth every year. And apparently, the main issue that they were having is because the area had been deforested for cattle incentivization back in the 80s. There was farmers that were deforesting the entire area. There was no coverage to create a difference in temperatures. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but turtles are actually determine their sex by the temperature of the sand. So the issue you have is when there's no coverage, you have one consistent temperature, and they were actually all turning out female. So by reforesting this area, it allowed different heat spots that has actually balanced the population to closer, it's not completely finished, but it's much more balanced now over the course of, I think they've been working on this project for 11 years. So it's coming much closer to the 50-50, which is an additional benefit to the environment and the biodiversity as well, which I think is incredibly important, because you have to consider, okay, well, this is great for the environment, but how does that impact everything else?
Interesting. All right. Brigitte asked, how does the token gain value?
Sure. Sorry, I was just seeing the next question after that. But yes, so the token gains value through, of course, transaction volume. So as transactions are taking place, the token is gaining value through that. But additionally, we're looking at ways, as I mentioned before, of increasing the cost efficiency of the tons that we're removing. So if it was $10 per ton today, we're looking at increasing it or decreasing the cost to $1 per ton in, let's say, a ton of carbon dioxide removed from the atmosphere. Sorry, did you want me to go on from there?
Yeah, let me, Brigitte, did that answer your question? Looks like Tomas also jumped in with the answer too.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Oh, good. There's a link to the video too. We'll click on that. I guess, yeah, can you talk more about reverse token? Like, can I use ETH to buy it, or like how do people buy it?
Sure.
Trade it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on the Polygon network. We chose the Polygon network for a couple of reasons. One, it's proof of stake, so it's much more environmentally friendly than, say, Ethereum. Two, it's incredibly fast. And the environmental impact is, of course, very important to us. And three, it's extremely cheap for people to use. So when we're doing things like engaging the community with other fun activities, rather than just the interest, we're looking at other ways to engage the community. So currently we're about to release a series of NFTs based around the environment called Seedlings, which will be released towards the end of this month. And we're working with Chainlink's VRF to verify randomness for these NFTs, but they'll actually be rewarded to users based on their environmental impact. So they'll receive them for removing X amount of tons from the atmosphere, or tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And we, of course, want these to be rewarded as close to free as possible. So we're not looking to charge them $100 through ETH gas fees. We didn't really think that's fair. Whereas with Polygon, it's essentially, it's as close to free as they could get.
So then, I mean, I'm mostly from the world of Ethereum tokens and ERC tokens and stuff. So how does someone from my world figure out how to interact with this Polygon world proof of stake reverse token, which has no fees? Ethereum is, just killing horrible fees.
Yeah, absolutely. So Polygon is actually built on top of Ethereum. It's what they call a layer 2 scaling solution. So it's not tampering with any of the original decentralization or security characteristics that are integral to the original blockchain. So it's actually built on top of it, and it's very simple. You can use whatever wallet you're using right now, say MetaMask, and it's just a matter of adding the new RPC address and creating that new option in your wallet. The same way as if you had probably Binance Smart Chain on there as well. If you have Binance Smart Chain and you've added that to your wallet, you're familiar with the process. It's exactly the same. You're adding a different RPC, and it's a very straightforward process. And in terms of using the network, it uses, of course, decentralized exchanges, but the ones that are available for the network are Quickswap and Defyn are the two that we're available on at the moment. And you can transact with USDC. You can, of course, transact with Polygon. I think here, and then of AGA and AGAR, you can also transact with those as that's of course where the team was originally from. We created pools to make it easy for people to purchase from our original company as well, to purchase Reverse.
Interesting. So I'm assuming on your website or somewhere in the FAQs, there's help guides for people to jump in and figure this out.
Yeah, of course, and there's of course our wonderful community. I've been absolutely stunned by the level of engagement that we've had in our community. I've of course worked on AGA as well, and I've been involved in several different communities since then through various partnerships we've had, and I've just been astounded by, considering the size of the community, even in the early stages when we had 100 or 200 members. The level of engagement has been amazing, and to see how much people really care about the environment, I feel like we really hit on the right project to move forward with. So our community is always available, and we also have a community manager in there. Rick Alexander is he'll help you through the process. Step 1 through 5, absolutely no problem.
You guys have a link to where people can join
Sure.
in like Telegram or?
Yeah, absolutely. I will share it.
And then Simon has a question, which I think was a really good one, because I was going to ask, I'm looking into DAOs myself right now too. So he wrote, awesome project, great to see the team engaging and listening to the community. Do you plan on turning this project into a DAO? Decentralized org.
We do have intention to do so, but we want to do it right. So like I was saying, I think we're setting up the groundwork to do so. The idea is to engage the community, educate the community, and allow them to slowly get more and more involved with the project. Of course, the Costa Rica thing is a great example of them choosing a project and allowing that to develop. But with time, once we start to work with these initiatives and develop the first-party solutions, and the community can see how that process takes place, I think that they will have the ability to manage the entire process. And the beauty of it is, with enough members, we can handle more projects than any company or team could ever imagine managing, right? So it's just a matter of educating them to do so. So we just want to set the groundwork as close to working, I don't want to say perfect model, but that's kind of the idea before we do that. But that is roadmap intention for sure.
I guess I'll pause on my questions there. Does anybody want to jump on and ask questions from the community? Because I guess I could hog the mic too.
Hello, Stefan. I wanted to ask real quick. Can you explain how the token value is related to carbon? I mean, you mentioned something about 1 ton or 10 tons being related to the dollar amount, and how, can you kind of explain that relationship?
Sure, yeah. So it's not a linked relationship. Basically what's happening is it's a dollar amount that's being sold. So it's 10% of the token that's going towards the carbon removal. So for example, it's not based on the per token value. So if you were to purchase 10 tokens at $1, it would be the same impact as 100 tokens. If the token was at $10, you'd be receiving the same impact. So it's a dollar value. It's 10% of the token that's going towards those removals. And in terms of when I mentioned the 10 tons of CO2 and the 1 ton of CO2, I think this is what you're talking about, but it's where I was discussing the idea of improving the total positive environmental impact per dollar cost. So for example, if we were purchasing tons of CO2 right now at $10 a ton, the idea is working with the right projects, with the right roadmaps, we could move towards a closer price of, say, $1 per ton of CO2. I hope that answers your question, but feel free to kind of further detail or any information that's needed.
No, okay, I appreciate that. I think that makes sense. So okay. So you spend $1. Let's say I buy a token. I buy $10 worth of the token, and then 10% of that is going to go into your system. However, and you guys are going to utilize that to fund some kind of carbon removal activity.
Yep,
and
that's
then,
correct.
So if I were to buy, so is that I basically, and then on the other end, you guys are, each time you do that, you're burning 5%, right?
Yep.
And that's to offset the fact that you guys are creating 10% more tokens to sell.
We're not creating any more tokens, no. We're just burning a percentage of the tokens that already exist. So there was a hard cap when we released the tokens. There was 1 billion tokens, and right now, with the transactions that have taken place so far over the first 2 months of the token launch, I think we're down to about 933 million now. So about 7% of the entire supply has been burned.
Can you walk us through the tokenomics then, like from scratch? So what's the total
Sure.
supply? How much is out in market? What's the distribution model, like burn rate, yada, yada, yada?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we initially launched, all tokens were made available through pools through Defyn. So the team didn't hold back any tokens. All tokens were released publicly at the time. It was 1 billion total supply was released. It was on, I want to say August 15th, I believe we released all of the tokens. And they were made available at that time. The team, of course, could buy into the tokens, but it was at the same time and of course at cost.
Really
The
interesting.
same as anyone else in the community as well. So that was just over 2 months ago. And from that point on, transactions took place, as I said. So when the transaction takes place, 10% of the transaction goes towards the carbon removals, 5% of the transaction is burned, and 5% is distributed to existing members. And so over the transactions that we've burned approximately 7% of the total supply so far. So we're down to, I think, around 933 million total supply now.
So as long as people keep buying in, if you're just looking at the crypto, the value of the token should naturally, air quote, go up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's designed to be deflationary, yes.
Deflationary is really, it's truly deflationary. Can I go back to pre-mine? Because like most crypto projects will always reserve, 1, 2, 5, 30, 50% of the tokens for themselves and give themselves a 4-year vesting. Like, why didn't you guys do that for yourselves? Because why not even like 1%?
Sure. I mean, it's really not designed to be a for-profit initiative. It's essentially designed to be a self-sustaining ecosystem. So with time, because this is not just based around the individual, we're also targeting companies as well. So the idea is, take a bear market, for example, when the rest of the market is down, I'm sure it will still impact Reverse. But the idea is, because it's a running business, it doesn't stop people needing to offset their emissions. So it should still create transaction volume. And as long as there's transaction volume, the token should still be performing as well. And as I said, the overall tokenomics allow for everything that's needed between the carbon removals and the interest that's earned. There really isn't anything that's needed for the token other than that, in terms of if the team needed tokens to issue any kind of marketing or anything like that that's all designed and built into the token.
So then it's deflationary. Is there a floor? Typically there's, a hard cap supply, but now you're burning tokens. Is the burning going to stop at a certain point, or does it just keep going?
It just keeps going. It doesn't have anything that's built into the smart contract as of now, no.
Interesting. So you mentioned Defyn as a good place to go and acquire
Quickswap.
For reverse tokens. I'm guessing, do I go to Coingecko, or what's the best place to track the price of reverse tokens?
Yeah, you can go to Coingecko. You can also go to Dextools. Dextools is probably the more accurate source, but Coingecko, of course, we're listed on there as well, and it's pretty close to accurate. Of course, there's a little discrepancy, but Coingecko is a good choice.
And then I'm looking at the chat. Tomas is putting in a lot of links, so we'll definitely have to check it out, especially the video. I'm very curious about that. And there's a link to the Telegram community. Go ahead.
Go easy on the video. I'm not used to doing the scripted thing. We probably should have hired someone, but I came in and took the reins on that. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video.
I think that's actually like authenticity and There's some real like beauty in that, right? Like the fact that you're not a videographer and it wasn't scripted. I think that sounds actually really cool. Now I definitely want to go check it out.
Sure. I mean, we want it to be a wholesome project. We don't want this to be a doom and gloom situation. The idea is that we appreciate the planet. So this is designed to be fun, engaging, wholesome, and that's the way we want people to feel when they're involved with the project as well.
So Tomas also wrote, when you buy 100 tokens, you only get 80, 20 gets taxed.
Right.
And that's because the 10% goes to the carbon work, and then 10% of what you paid for is 5% is being burned, and 5% is going into being yield for the rest of the token holders in the community.
Yeah, we have a graphic on the website as well that explains it. So if you're a visual learner, I think that might be helpful. And of course, there's no reason that necessarily you have to buy more tokens to have more impact, right? So we've left it in a way that it's flexible. So if you're more interested in holding this as an asset because you believe in the token appreciation potential, then of course you can do that. But as a company, you can actually choose to simply transfer to another wallet, and the taxing will take place the same way it does if you're buying. So we're looking at interesting ways to integrate that with companies where, because the token is appreciating and they're earning interest, the idea is after the first year, even without token appreciation, simply based on that 40% that they're earning right now, which of course will increase as transaction volume increases, they could actually offset any further growth that they might have in their company, or they can use it in a myriad of ways. If the token appreciates, they can transfer and offset the following year of their footprint. Or, I mean, there's many ways to use the token effectively, and we aim to educate the community on that and these corporations as well.
Yeah, I'm totally a newbie when it comes to this ESG and green space. So looks like Rick Alexander, you mentioned him as the community manager, so he's here. Hey Rick, great to have you here. He says, ask Stefan about seedlings.
So the seedlings are our NFT release that are coming up at the end of the month. You can check them out on the website. They're all over it. We've kind of branded it around that currently, so the community can have a little fun with it. They're simply based around different things that are related to the environment, and with time we want to use them in interesting ways to support other projects. So for example, one of the roadmap items a few months down the line is actually working with endangered species projects to essentially support through combo minting. So people will be able to take their seedling and they'll be able to choose an animal of their choice that they'd like to support, and they can essentially mint an NFT that will connect a graphic version of whatever that endangered species is with their seedling. And I'll throw up some examples as well. And the money that they donate towards doing that will go towards supporting that project. So we're looking at other interesting ways other than just the token to engage with various biodiversity and environmental goals.
Yeah, I think you mentioned seedlings is this new upcoming project that are the NFTs.
Yeah, and they're part of the Reverse project, and they're simply a reward and a way for our community to engage with the project as well.
Looks like they recommend that we do a screen share and check out the website. Do you want to share? Do you want me to share?
You can share if you'd like and go through it and explore it in the same way that someone new to the website might.
All right, let me figure that out. One sec. Here. Clicking on it. I guess you guys can all see my very messy screen.
I can pull it up if you'd like.
Yeah, if you're faster. My computer's really old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm sharing right now. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the website for Reverse Climate Change, and I will leave you guys to play the video at your own pace. But right here, we have some examples of the seedlings that are coming up, and they're kind of printed throughout the website, and they just have little interesting gizmos around, whether it's their hat or whatever it is involving the environment. We've got another little one here as well. You can take a look. We have a seedling section to kind of walk you through what's happening, how you can get involved, how you can collect seedlings, and here's some examples. So here you can see examples of the endangered species that'll be coming later in the year, where probably maybe even Q1 2022, once we create that partnership to support those projects. And these are some examples of some of the seedlings that'll be released.
Oh, they're cute.
But yeah, I mean, we want it to be fun and engaging, and here you can get an example of how it works. So essentially, here, let me see if I can pull up the example. So we're kind of gamifying it. So there'll be one-time use unlockable buttons. So basically, when you've removed a certain amount, so let's say 5 tons of CO2, this button will become unlockable, and you'll be able to mint. And there'll be, I think, seven choices. 7 unlockable buttons per user. I'm not sure why the screen went green there. There we go. And of course, if you're just very active and looking to make a positive impact, but don't necessarily have the funds to do so, we're also going to be implementing referrals. So users will be able to refer new members to the community. And when those members have impact, they will also receive essentially a percentage towards their wallet tracker that will say they have perhaps not been directly responsible, but indirectly responsible for the CO2 tons removed through Reverse. And they will also be able to unlock NFTs as well through that method.
Interesting.
Is there anywhere else anyone wants to take a look around on the website that they'd like me to guide them through? I'll see if there's any. I can't see the questions while I'm sharing, so if there's any, let me know.
Looks like the white paper's up there, so we can check it out. Check out the video.
Of course, the video, it's just a quick minute, and then the documentary, as I said, should be up on our channels on perhaps next week, I think. It just takes a little more work to get that one done. And this is where I'm saying there's a little more of a visual representation to kind of walk you through what's happening when you buy Reverse or sell or transact with Reverse.
Yeah, so I throw in $10, $1 goes to carbon removals, and then 50 cents worth is burned, and 50% is distributed to all the token holders as like rebate or yield. And I get $8 worth of tokens, reverse tokens.
Yes, and of course, this is currently in beta version, but we have a wallet tracker where you can look at your impact and verify, and it essentially is pulling all information from all previous transactions. So you can look at how many tons of CO2 you've removed. And as we add new projects that we get involved with, it will also include that information. So one of the things we're doing, of course, through Custis Verdes and through Ecology is where we're currently funding the planting of trees. So you can look at how many trees you've planted, and those trees, of course, sequester CO2 from the environment over time. And we don't include that in the official number of tons you prevented because it's not direct carbon removal or instantaneous carbon removal, it's over time. But we do provide that information so users can know the kind of impact they're having into the future. Because, of course, trees are a good way to sequester carbon from the atmosphere. And with time, of course, that will be kelp reforestation and other projects such as direct CO2 injection into below the ice in Iceland is one of the things we're looking into, because it's removed for a very long period of time. It's essentially, I think, approximately a millennia is the timestamp that they put on the sequestration of that carbon.
Interesting. I think earlier you talked about how typically these environmental projects in crypto don't give you the full transparency. So like you planted 100,000 trees, and then when the tree comes to term, 50,000 of those trees might be cut down, but the carbon removal impact isn't really updated. How's that happening through Reverse?
So that's still something we're exploring. So for example, the project with Custis Verdes is actively acknowledging that and explaining that. That's one of the reasons we decided to work with them on that project, is once we can bring those tons that they're removing on chain, that will be much easier. And that's being made easier through the Toucan protocol, which hopefully we can make a connection with and support them as well. But we're looking for the best way to bring those tons on chain right now. So they're actively aware and engaging in that aspect of the project rather than just telling you X amount are planted.
I see. We have let's see, a little over 10 minutes left. Any other questions from the community? Want to make sure we get those questions. See who's here. And you can just put up your hand using the reactions button at the bottom, or just come on screen and ask your question, or pop it into the chat.
Did you have any more questions, Arry, that you'd like to cover?
I mean, I could totally ask more about the team. So like, how did you meet Tomas formally, and what's it like working with Tomas? Is he nice? And you're working remotely, you're like in a different country. So like, how does that work? And then actually before that, or after that, Aidetona asked, do you consider listing in a centralized exchange?
Potentially. I think we're at a very early stage where we haven't really explored that yet. And I'm not quite sure at this stage how it would tie into the tokenomics. So I think that's something we need to explore more and research more to understand how that would work before we did something like that.
Aidetona, do you have a certain exchange that you'd like to see reverse token on? Or I think a lot of the exchanges, especially like Binance, they pull the community, and the community has a huge impact on what gets listed too. So then what's it like working with Tomas? Do you guys get to see each other? Are you 100% virtual? Like, how did you meet?
Yeah, so we're 100% virtual. I actually just physically met people in the crypto space for the first time, outside of the people I knew previously, but from a work-related perspective, for the first time at NFT NYC recently. But no, I've actually never met any of my team members in person at this point. Hopefully that's soon, but not yet. But yeah, I actually met Tomas through a mutual friend, and that's how we kind of connected initially. And I'm not sure if he was completely sold on me initially, but I think a business success relies on the ability to react swiftly or change course if that's needed. And I think that Tomas essentially was willing to experiment, and he saw potential, and we tried it out. And he, of course, hired me with Aga, and we developed Reverse, and I'm still here, so I'm assuming it's going well. But I think that he has an incredible ability to change courses if needed, but he's willing to experiment to find the right thing and the right step forward, because I think that's necessary in all industry is the need to innovate and think about things in a different way. And make a bad decision, that's fine, but just react quickly and change course if necessary, rather than going down with a sinking ship. And I think that goes for investing as well. I mean, that's the same thing you do with this, right? You try to make the decision and take losses when necessary, when you realize that this was not the right decision for the period of time. So yeah, absolutely love working with him. It's been a great experience to get involved with the overall industry as well.
Aidetona has more follow-up questions. So I haven't seen any promotional videos from YouTubers and influencers. When will this start, lest we miss the bull run?
Yeah, so right now we're actually looking at who to work with, because the funds are limited for that area of the project. We want to make sure that funds are really going towards supporting the environment. So we are currently exploring which options would work best, and we actually want to engage the community on that and see who they believe would be the best fit for the project and have the most impact. So if you have any opinions or you want to vocalize any suggestions, then of course we're open to that. So please do. But yeah, that's something that we're exploring right now. This month is it's going to be a very big month for Reverse, where we're really trying to push on partnerships, and they're starting to come together to the point that I think by the end of the month you'll see a lot more of us, and it's getting very exciting for sure. There's some very exciting news coming up, and yeah, marketing as well, of course, is extremely important, and we're putting the pedal to the metal this month on that whole area. So for sure, as you start to search, I'm sure you'll find us on there over the next few weeks.
So marketing engine is getting into gear this month as we speak. So
yes.
Adatona's questions around exchange and exposure and getting more community members and exposure is being worked on in progress.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yes, please do. Please join the community and get involved and share any ideas that you have, and we will absolutely listen to that.
What is DFYN? I guess there's a list of questions here. What is?
Yeah. DFYN. It's just another decentralized exchange like Quickswap. Here, I'll share a link.
Okay, exchange.df.
That'll take you directly to the exchange, but it's the same as Quickswap or Uniswap. It's just a decentralized exchange, just another choice, and it's somewhere where we have liquidity right now.
Okay. And both Aga and Reverse are there?
Yes.
Awesome. It's a DEX built on Polygon. All right. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not the trader here. Other questions from the community? All right.
Someone's got to throw out a really good one, right? It's only a few minutes left, so let's make it good.
Seems like Adatona is totally on the ball. So when will tracking be available?
Tracking in the sense of what? Okay, yeah, absolutely. So you should be able to track your impact right now. We just are currently still pulling, depends on what you purchase with, but we're still pulling historical price data for the AGA and AGA-R buys of Reverse, which should be finished today. It's just parsing. So hopefully by tonight, everything should be running on that end, but you should be able to track your impact. You can simply type in your wallet address and it should give you that information.
On Telegram, Adatona's Prince Wadud. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, nice. I'll be sure to say hello when I get back in the chat later on today.
Awesome. And then can we share the Telegram community links again?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what are the best ways for folks to get in touch with you after the session, if they have questions or want to know more?
Yeah, so I'll actually put my direct contact in there. So on Telegram and on Twitter, I'm at Renton. You can ask me any question you like. I'm usually available. I'm very much involved in trying to make sure this project succeeds, especially since although we're a micro cap project, even in the early stages, it was amazing to see the support we've had and the impact that has been possible. So it's really just given me the drive to move forward. So feel free to contact me directly as well. And I would also recommend our Twitter channel. We tend to share a lot of updates through there, and I will post that as well.
Have your family members now gone into crypto? Have you helped onboard them faster because you're now trying the environmental science world with crypto?
Yeah, not yet. I'm trying to get there, but the conversation I had with my dad when I first told him that I started to work in this industry was I had to go back to what's Bitcoin. So that's kind of a work in progress. My brother is a few stages ahead, absolutely, but I would love to get them involved, especially as we start to explore really developing our own projects. I think their expertise would be vital to creating something really impactful. So at some point, I'll take the time to educate them more, but it's all engines on for Reverse right now, especially the marketing push this month.
Interesting. I mean, I know you now, and I know of your brother and father. So now 3 people from the Isle of Man, island or nation with 80,000-ish people. Is the island very environmentally aware? Is it part of the culture of this country?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, actually. I think they could definitely do a better job, but I think because they do just have so much more green space and it's so much less urban, you're naturally more aware of what's around you. So I think that's what definitely helps and makes you more involved. Because, for example, the first time I went to London and then went back, that's a huge difference. And I'm an avid traveler, so I've seen many environments, and it's just extremely important to me to make sure that it's something that we consider. So yeah, I would definitely visit if you get the chance. It's a unique experience for sure.
Isle of Man, ISLE of Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually never heard of such a place, and I'm gonna go Googling this afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't have
It's not on all maps. It's a good thing we have Google Earth and Google Maps today, because there were maps when I was a kid that people would pull out and it wouldn't be on there. So
oh
it's
wow.
it's a different world today. So you'll be sure to find it.
It's crazy because you don't have like a crazy accent or anything that would be the tell
Sure.
of you being truly American. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I've lived in the US before. I'm actually in Mexico at the moment, but I lived in the US before moving to Mexico for about 4 years. So I think that kind of took its toll, because when you say things like water, people usually react in a strange way. So I kind of took on the accent to save myself a lot of explanation.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we're at 1 o'clock. I know some people have a hard stop for 1 o'clock. So wanted to say formally thank you to Steph and the team, and definitely all of those that joined us for this AMA today. Hopefully you learn as much as I did. There's just so much to learn in the space. So we'll post a recording of the video shortly afterwards. But if anybody can stay on past 1 o'clock, I think we're going to be doing some demos and more walkthroughs, and we'll have more opportunities for you to ask questions too. So I'm just going to pause while people say bye, and also pause while we switch over to demo mode.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me as well. I really appreciate the chance to be on the show, and I feel like we barely even covered the environmental aspects. So I'd love to get a chance to come back on and do a deep dive there as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, would love to learn more, because I know the environmental thing is a big topic, but how do you even start? Like,
Sure.
there's global warming going on. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be really careful with the terminology in this space as well, right? Like, there's one word can mean something completely different, but kind of the same thing, and can be used interchangeably. So yeah, we should absolutely jump back on at some point and do a deep dive on that.
Yeah, I think we probably have the similar problems with blockchain, because even in the blockchain and crypto industry, you use the word blockchain, you go, wait, are you using blockchain, or are you using not blockchain? Are you talking about distributed ledger technology or not? Is it really decentralized or not? And so, I mean, even if you look at the definition of blockchain from Merriam-Webster to Investopedia to the Oxford Dictionary on the internet, it's slightly different depending on who wrote it. So we're still early in this industry as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who's remaining. I think we have a bunch of people still remaining. Great. So do you want to hop into demo mode, and you want to give us a preamble about demos?
Yeah, let me pull it up on the screen share, and I will get that information ready. Are we still recording, or is this going to be a separate section?
We're still recording. I can chop it up later, depending on what day wants.
Okay, sure. It's the first time I've done a screen share demo, so let me make sure it's all ready. Okay.
Yeah, Day is my husband, part of the full disclosure. He's so excited about Reverse. So I've been like,
I'm glad.
Yeah.
No, I'm very glad to see that he's involved, and of course he's given us this opportunity as well. So yeah, extremely excited to have him in the community. He's one of the members that's engaging, so that's great for sure. Okay, that's the page I was looking for. Here, so I'll share my screen.
Yes, please. And so what's this a demo going to be of? And why is it important?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're basically going to go a little further into the tokenomics and kind of explain how purchasing works, because we've had some issues with people finding it a little complicated. So I just want to kind of walk people through that. And it really depends on the stage you're at. But of course, the idea is we have the community to kind of help you through that. And Rick's usually available as well, and he can kind of guide you through the process. But I know Day went through some challenges as well. So we'll kind of walk through that as we take it step by step. So I'm sure most people are familiar with having some kind of hot wallet extension on their browser. So for example, we use MetaMask as an example because I think it's probably the most widely adopted option, but of course there's Trust Wallet as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming everyone in this meeting is past this stage, but feel free to ping me if not, and we can kind of go back a step. But the process in terms of getting onto Polygon, there's a couple of options. So the simplest option is, for example, depending on where you keep your funds, whether it's in, let's say, Coinbase, I think is a good example. It's an easy and familiar option for many people. So that's a centralized exchange. You need to be able to transfer from the Ethereum network onto the Polygon network. And there's a couple of ways to do that. One is through crypto.com, because they actually have the option to withdraw directly to the Polygon network. So transferring from somewhere like Coinbase or honestly any other centralized exchange, or even purchasing directly through crypto.com makes the process a little bit easier, because you can essentially just withdraw straight to it's the Matic network, MATIC, instead of the ERC20.
What is Matic?
If you
can you do a
so sure, yeah, let me I'll pull it up in a second. Yeah, so Matic is the token for the Polygon network. It was originally branded Matic and it rebranded to Polygon. Its token is still named Matic, but it is the network that Reverse exists on. It's the layer 2 scaling solution we were talking about before. So it's an alternative to ERC20, but lives on top of ERC20. So we have to get the funds onto that network before we can purchase Reverse. So the options are, like I mentioned, the easiest way through centralized exchanges to withdraw directly onto Polygon through crypto.com. But if your funds are already existing in a decentralized wallet, you're going to need to bridge those funds from, let's use ERC20 or the Ethereum network as an example, to the Polygon network. So let me get this. There's a couple of ways to do that. The simplest way is to use Polygon's official bridge. I'm just gonna pause the share and find the page. But the simplest way is to use the Polygon's official bridge. The issue is it can tend to be a little slow, and sometimes the funds get stuck, and it can also be quite expensive just because of the Ethereum gas fees. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just want to log into my wallet securely and without putting it on screen.
OPSEC. Yes.
So here we go. Okay, so this is the Polygon bridge. So it's quite straightforward. If we were to move from, let's say, Ethereum, put in however many Ethereum and send it to the Polygon chain, and it's actually going to wrap that Ethereum. So it's what's known as a wrapped ETH that will exist on the Polygon chain, and you transfer this way. But like I said, as you can see, I actually have stuck transactions from many weeks ago, which is why I stopped using the Polygon bridge. But another alternative, which is much more affordable, is Evo DeFi. So this is another bridge that's available, and it's very affordable. So you can essentially switch from BSC to Polygon as another example, but it's very easy to use. And the fee when involved is, I believe it's 0.5%. But the benefit of using this bridge is you're actually receiving a small amount of Matic when you move to the chain, which you'll need to transact in the same way you need Ethereum for gas fees on the Ethereum network. You need Matic on the Polygon network in order to transact. So this will actually provide you with some. There is also faucets, which you can withdraw a small amount of Matic to purchase more. And because the gas fees are so cheap, you really don't need much to kind of buy and sell. I usually onboard people onto Polygon and then send them, you know, single digit amount of Matic and tell them this will last them for the rest of their life, unless they're incredibly avid user, but it's incredibly affordable way to transact.
Interesting.
So let's, wrong one here. So many screens.
Crypto life is lots of screens and
I know, right? But assuming you made it through that stage, we actually also have videos to explain this a lot better. If you click through the Show Me How, it will take you to YouTube and it will actually guide you through the process on screen of purchasing and going through that as well. And so let's assume, you know, you've brought your funds over and you have your ETH and you've used Defyn, for example, which we have right here, to purchase USDC from ETH. So let's say you've traded wrapped ETH. I think it's just ETH on here. So you've traded your ETH for USDC and you now have USDC, and we're whitelisted on Defyn as well. So you're essentially just typing in reverse and you're finding a reverse. And then it's a matter of transacting. So this is where it gets, this is the complicated part. So because of the way the smart contract operates, you're required to set your slippage to around 25%. You can go a little higher if it's not working for you, but you're not actually risking funds by setting the slippage so high. All it's doing is allowing the smart contract to activate and process the 10.55, the 20% tax that we talked about. So if anyone here has purchased Safemoon, they're familiar with the process. I think they have a 10% tax on their transactions, so you have to set your slippage to around 12%. We're looking at making this more automated, and we have explored smart contracts because I believe you can actually write the slippage into the smart contract, but you're not at risk of any, there's a word I'm looking for, but
I see. So the slippage.
You're not at risk of getting less tokens, is what I'm trying to say. You're just allowing the smart contract to activate. So that's why we set the slippage at that rate for the transaction for reverse.
To cover the 10% and the 5% plus the 5%.
Yeah, exactly. And we've tested it with 25 and 20 or 20, 22, 23, and 25 seems to yield the best results. And there is actually an alternative option, which I'll walk everyone through if they're not comfortable with setting the slippage so high. But essentially, if I was to type in 100 USDC and I was to purchase reverse, what we've actually found, and it's the same with Quickswap, and I imagine it's because they probably use the same base code, but there seems to be a small glitch where if you remove the last digit and type in something else, it will actually allow the transaction to process without setting a slippage. I couldn't tell you why. I haven't had time to explore why, but if you're having trouble with setting slippage or you feel uncomfortable, that is an alternative option, is essentially just changing the final digit of the amount of reverse you're going to receive.
Interesting.
So I'm just throwing that out there for anyone. And that's basically it. So as we said, the smart contract initiates all of the distribution. So there's no need to stake. There's no requirement to stake it somewhere. It's designed for anyone, even people who are not particularly familiar with the blockchain space, to be able to earn on their funds. It's simply earning directly into their wallet. Feel free to, if you're interested in the project but not ready to invest, purchase 100 reverse and watch it earn on top, just to ensure that that is actually happening, and you'll see that happen within 24 hours. So it's a very interesting concept, and that's basically how it is. Like I said, feel free to check out the videos on the website. The way you get here is if you go to reverseclimatechange.io and scroll down, there's a Show Me How to Buy Reverse button, and it will take you to this page. And there's, of course, all the links for the exchange and the short video guides. If you haven't installed MetaMask yet, of course, is very straightforward. And this is actually an explainer video. So once you get to that channel, if you still want to learn more about how everything works and if the 10.5.5 doesn't quite make sense to you, this video is an explainer video. So it'll actually walk you through exactly what's happening and how it's happening for reverse as well. And that's all on the same page. So you're just looking for the, here, I'll show you guys. So, too many screens. So yeah, you're just scrolling to this section right here, and this will take you directly to Defyn, but this button will take you to show you how to buy reverse, and the video is right there for you to walk you through that process as well.
Awesome. As you get more liquidity around reverse, is the slippage going to just naturally go down from 25 to 24?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's never going to fall below that 20, 21 mark, of course, because that's needed to activate the smart contract. But I suppose it could make it easier and create less failure transactions as we do gain more liquidity.
Interesting.
But like I said, if you're having trouble just changing that last digit on Defyn, it works on Quickswap as well. We'll also initiate the smart contract and prevent you from having to set the slippage.
Cool. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward.
And of course, feel free to share in our community as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for walking us through that demo and obtaining some reverse tokens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have people from all different levels of crypto experience, so it'll definitely help. Any questions from anybody?
One more, maybe? Well, it's been really great to be on the show and have a chance to talk about this, but I'm racking my brain thinking, oh, we need to talk about this, and this, and we need to go more in depth and the environmental aspect and the roadmap. But like I said, feel free if you enjoyed having me on the show, I absolutely would love to come back and go more into depth.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely continue to engage, and I'll try and post updates into our Slack channel as well. I guess maybe some closing thoughts. What's next for you and Reverse, and yeah, just what's next, and yeah.
Sure, yeah, and Tomasz actually just shared a question, which I'll mention to the rest of the community and the viewers here, is we are looking at hosting some live Twitter spaces because we do want more activity with the community, but we found it's often difficult to get a lot of the detail into, for example, a Telegram channel, right? Like you're just filling with text. So we're thinking we'll probably host one potentially weekly. To start with, it will just be beating around the bush, anyone that wants to ask questions, but with time, I think we'll kind of create topics of discussion and we can get involved. So it might be a lot of fun if anyone wants to join.
Cool,
and
yeah. Let me know what those are, and I can share those with the community as well.
Great, absolutely. Yeah, but in terms of next steps, so of course, marketing is going heavy from this month forward. A lot of the partnerships that are potentially coming up will also be announced, and we're working with several corporations on potentially offsetting their footprint at the moment. So hopefully that will also drive transaction volume up on Reverse and allow us to initiate some further projects. And yeah, it's kind of a nice curve where the more transaction volume we have, not only the bigger the impact we're having with a larger community, but we're essentially going to be decreasing the cost of total positive impact as well, which is the overall goal. So very excited for the coming months, and we hope everyone here gets involved as well.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Stefan and the team, Rick and Tomas, and definitely thanks to the audience and the community members that have stayed on and seen the demo. Yeah, thank you so much for also like staying past 1 o'clock. So I know time is very precious in this. We'll definitely get the video posted in the next week or so, and then I'll share the links, and then definitely keep in touch. Congratulations, and sounds like an exciting project and some good good, human and planet impact too.
For sure. And yeah, thank you everyone that was that decided to attend this. I really appreciate you being involved, and I hope that you join our communities and we can speak more on on a regular basis. So very excited. Please feel free to join the Telegram, the Twitter, and we'll speak more soon.
Cool. Happy Friday. Bye.
Enjoy the weekend, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is non-technical, fun, informative way to learn about money, Bitcoin, blockchains, crypto, and digital assets. This podcast is not financial advice, and your reactions are your total and complete responsibility, y'all. Now, thanks again, and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
Stuck inside.